You guys asked me questions, and so right now I'm going to answer them. I'm so excited because we're gonna cover everything from my personal life to DIY to YouTube to one of the most asked questions that I received. Hi everyone, I'm Alli and welcome to my channel, though you probably already know that if you clicked on this video. I feel like because we're doing DIY projects all the time and I'm truly a weekend warrior when it comes to my projects, that I get so focused on getting that DIY project done where we don't get a chance to sit and talk and get to know each other a little bit better. So that's the purpose of today's video. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be answering a wide range of questions. I kind of broke them down into smaller categories, including the big burning question that everybody's asking me, which is what do I do for a living, or what is my full-time job? I will be answering that one though later on in the video, so you'll have to keep watching to the end because that's when I'll answer that one. But we have a whole lot of other things to talk about. Get ready, and here we go, starting with the first question. So I was asked, have I always been creative, and what were your hobbies growing up? And yes, I definitely have always been creative. I'm an only child, so I feel like because I always had to entertain myself because I don't have any siblings, a big thing that I loved to do was color and draw. So that's really where I got my start in creativity. So like that is like the very beginning hobby. But then eventually I got into art as I got a little bit older. My grandma taught me how to sew when I was in the 6th grade. She got me my first sewing machine. So that was a huge thing, learning how to sew. I wanted to make costumes and stuff for a play that I was writing. I never finished that play. I've always wanted to have a lot of different creative projects going on at once. So it just makes sense that this is what I'm doing here for my YouTube channel because I've always been creating something new. Where did you get your experience? Was it trial and error on your own, mentoring with another experienced professional, working with a parent on home projects? How did you discover and grow your passion? Well, for me, I definitely do have the privilege that my dad is a contractor. So growing up, I got to go on some of his job sites and watch what he did. And I think that really got me interest in home renovations and things like that. I can't say that like I mentored under him, if that's a good way to say it, but just kind of watching that growing up. Also just in general, like my grandma, who I mentioned, who taught me how to sew, she also did ceramics. So there's creativity all over my family. And so I think that that just kind of trickled down into kind of what I do. And I kind of just learned by observing. I learned by watching YouTube videos. And I also just kind of learned, like the question asked, by trial and error. And I've always found that for me personally, that when I have something in mind, like a project or a goal, as long as I set my mind to it and I come up with a vision, I'm very good at executing that vision and getting to that final project or final product, even though there might be some, twists and turns along the way. I think I just have like a very goal-oriented or vision-oriented mind where if this is what I want to do, then I'm somehow going to get that end result. So I think maybe it's like determination has a lot to do with it as well. Would love to know what state you live in and how you got started with interior design. I'll answer the first half of that a little bit later on in the video, but how I got started with interior design, I feel like it's just something that I've always had an interest in. When I was younger, I loved all of those home makeover shows, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, anything on HGTV, House Hunters, any of the like, I don't know, now I'm blanking on all the names of all those shows. I loved watching those shows, but I also remember in like 5th grade, very specific memory in my brain right now. In class, when I was bored, I would draw floor plans of houses like in my notebook and just lay out furniture and design and come up with like different themes for each of the rooms and then draw like sketches or mock-ups of how I wanted the room to look. That was just something I randomly fell into really liking doing. And then after that, it kind of shifted. I wanted to do like fashion design, then just art, but I do remember that. So I feel like that was like a key moment when it came to interior design. And then I feel like also playing The Sims. I loved decorating houses. I definitely decorated houses more than I actually played the gameplay with the characters. I would decorate the house, then move on and start a new house, do the cheat codes to get all the money to decorate it as much as I wanted to the best of its ability. And then again, I would repeat that and do it over again. So I think those may be what sparked my interest in interior design, which is such a nerdy thing to say. Moving on to a couple more personal life related questions. I was asked, how did you meet your boyfriend and does he like doing projects with you? So for anyone who doesn't know, my boyfriend and I live together in this apartment and he helps me a lot with filming. He's behind the camera right now helping with this video even. And so the way that we met is not like some crazy romantic story. We met at work. We were co-workers. We're not co-workers anymore because he has moved on to another job. So it wasn't like some crazy love story, but I like the fact that we had a really good foundation as friends. But fun fact, before we even started dating, we had co-workers telling us that they could see us together. And it's kind of funny though, because at the time we were like, no way. And now here we are. And yes, he does like doing projects with me, at least I think. Alex, do you like doing projects with me?
Of course I do.
He likes it just as much as I do. He loves doing camera work. So I think that this is just really fun for him because I get to do something I'm passionate about. He gets to do something he's passionate about. He's also very good at helping me come up with solutions when I need some sort of problem solving. I'm always like, Alex, how do I get out of this? And he usually has an idea if I can't think of one. So he's just a huge help and I don't know, I just love him and appreciate him so much for doing that for me and being here for me and supporting me for this crazy YouTube journey. What age are you? Also, what do you both like to do in your free time outside of YouTube and DIY? So I am 29 years old. I am a Gemini. So I am just getting used to saying I'm 29 and scared to say the dreaded 3-0 in just less than a year now, which is so scary. And what do we both like to do outside of YouTube? I mentioned this kind of in the question before. Our hobbies outside of this is we really like photography, both a mixture of digital and film photography. So you're kind of seeing some of the pictures that I have taken up on the screen right here, but he gave me my first film camera and I think that was the true bonding moment. So we do that quite a bit whenever we have free time. Oh, and I know what else we like, but it is kind of YouTube adjacent. We love going and looking at old things. That's what we call it when we go to like the antique stores or the thrift stores. So essentially, if the weather is just yucky outside, we'll go antiquing, but if the weather is decent, we'll probably go out and take pictures when we have free time. I also got a couple of questions about where I live, and we'll get to this later on when I address my job question, so I'm gonna keep it a little bit vague, but I live in the Midwest of the United States. I won't get specific on a state for now, you'll understand a little bit later on. However, where I live currently is not where I grew up. I actually grew up in Pennsylvania, then I've also lived in Minnesota, then I went back to Pennsylvania, and now I am where I am now. Do you have any pets? Sadly, we do not have any pet. I really want a dog. Alex really wants a dog. I really want a golden retriever, but Alex, what kind of dog do you want?
German Shepherd.
So we'll probably have to compromise on which breed of dog we get, or adopt, I should say. I really want a dog, but I just don't think it works right now with our lifestyle, with doing YouTube, with working, with living on a second floor apartment, and previously I was on a third floor apartment, and that just is inconvenient for having to take the dog in and out. But our goal would be to next rent something where we do have access to a ground level to let the dog outside. So fingers crossed that we can do that because I would love to have a dog. And Alex, what are we gonna name the dog?
Oh, you know, Chompers.
Chompers. I don't know, that maybe is a work in progress, but right now we're gonna name the dog Chompers because it sounds ridiculous. What is something about yourself that few people know about? Well, one thing, which I feel like is the cop-out answer, is my YouTube channel. I don't tell pretty much anybody in my personal life about this YouTube channel. I didn't tell my parents, and they kind of found it on their own. So, hi Mom and Dad, when you watch this, I'm sorry I kept it a secret, but I really wanted to prove to myself that this was something that I could do for myself without any sort of outside influence or support. I really was doing this for me as a creative outlet, as a chance to just grow my skills, both being on camera like this and DIY skills. But eventually it kind of got to the point where it was too hard to keep it a secret, but pretty much no one knows about it unless they have somehow found my channel. But I'm not gonna be like, hi, I have a YouTube channel, because I don't know. I just wanted this to all be just very organic and something that I did for myself. But another answer to that, because I feel like that is kind of a lame answer, I guess, is My favorite type of music is pop punk, which I think surprises a lot of people because I feel like I don't look like somebody whose favorite music choice is pop punk. My favorite band is Fall Out Boy, and then that's followed by Water Parks, Grayscale. I like Panic at the Disco, well, like older Panic at the Disco. Now I'm gonna answer some more DIY specific type questions. So this one I got is, what are your favorite DIYs, small ones or room makeovers? Definitely room makeovers. I like seeing the full before and after transformation, and I feel like a real sense of accomplishment every time I get one of those projects done. What are your favorite craft/decorating styles? I definitely lean more toward transitional, the modern rustic type style. I also really do like bringing in a lot of antiques. My favorite like decade or era of just design and general like fashion and history is the Victorian era, so I really like that kind of influence in my home. And I felt like for the longest time that I couldn't have that because I was renting, but I've sort of realized that if I don't do that now, then I'm not going to be happy later on, especially because I think right now my kind of taste in design is what's super trendy right now. So I'm like, well, one day it's not going to be trendy, so I might as well act on it while I'm able to find all these beautiful pieces that I want to curate in my home. When you do a DIY project, do you need to get permission from the leasing office? Personally, I do not ask permission from the leasing office. I read my lease to make sure I know what I'm allowed to do. For example, I'm not allowed to paint in this apartment, but I do believe in the fact, don't ask permission, ask for forgiveness. So if for some reason something came up and they said, you can't have that, then I would just be like, I'm sorry, I can remove it. If you come back for an inspection or whatever it may be, it'll be gone and like it was never there because it's all completely removable, at least to the best of my abilities. I wonder if your neighbors ever ask you what you are doing in there. Honestly, we have not got that question other than one time Alex dropped the table that we used to craft on and it made our downstairs neighbor very mad because it was very loud. So he did ask that question in not so nice terms when that happened. But one that I thought like was super relevant to this question was when we put up the privacy wall on our patio. Everybody said our neighbors are gonna be so mad at us when we do it, but Alex told me that when he was leaving the apartment, they actually approached him and asked him where they bought or where we bought one so that they could get one for themselves. So I guess that one went over pretty well, which is kind of nice to hear that. And of course he told them that we made it, and so yeah, so I guess at least that one went over well because I was a little bit nervous about that, just probably as much as a lot of the comments that I received were too. Do you keep all the items you DIY, or do you often make things for just the learning process / content? Now this one is something I struggle with because I do feel like I make a lot of the projects just for the content, which is why I feel like I've moved away a lot from some of these smaller DIY projects because I struggle with it because it feels really wasteful. But then reading this question kind of gave me a new mindset toward it because it's not really wasteful if I'm using it to learn a new skill, to practice, or try something new. I don't have to love the end result. A lot of times I end up just donating some of the projects that I think turn out well enough to donate or give them away, or I kind of just store some of them, but definitely some of them have been thrown out, especially when moving, which that's the part I end up feeling a little bit guilty about. But I do think that every DIY project is a learning process and that I'm able to gain new skills each time I do one, even if it is something that I don't plan on displaying or keeping in my home. Favorite DIY tools, and what is the most difficult DIY project you have completed so far? Favorite DIY tool, probably a drill, the nail gun, and the miter saw. I'll talk a little bit more about tools in a later question, but the most difficult DIY project that I've completed so far, I think they've all come with their challenges. It just all depends on what you mean by difficult, I guess, because building this room was really time consuming and a lot of work and exhausting. Doing the bedroom had a lot of like problems and trying to do some trial and error to get things to finally work out right. But one project that I think I really dragged my feet on and completing was the chair flip. That was quite a while ago on my channel, where I added some cane webbing to an old chair that I was gifted, and then that one just, I don't know, there was something really intimidating about that project to me, and upholstering. And I think when I completed that, I said no more upholstery. Then we ended up upholstering a full headboard, so I don't think I learned my lesson. How did you learn the tools, and were the tools expensive? So this one, I actually have a lot of privilege in saying that my dad bought me the tools that you see in my videos. They were actually a lot of gifts for birthdays, Christmases, whatever, because my dad knew that this was something that I really wanted to get into. And as I said at the beginning of the video, he is a contractor, so he knows a lot about about tools, and I think it made him really, really happy when I told him that I wanted power tools. And so he was just like more than willing to buy me tools and get me started. And so I'm really, really appreciative of that, because otherwise tools can get very expensive. It all depends on exactly what you're going for, what you need. If you want like a more budget-friendly option and you just want to learn and get familiar with them, I suggest going with the Ryobi tools, because those ones are a little bit more affordable. But I have a whole different mix of different brands and things like that, just that my dad has given me, and he taught me how to use them. He gave me a little demo of how to use each of the tools, but a lot of the learning that I did was just by watching people do it on YouTube and just kind of intuition on knowing how the tool works, or the projects that I know that it will work on, and then just doing some practice cuts or whatever before really working on the project. How would you suggest someone new learning how to use power tools, especially if they have none? I want to learn and build things in the future. I would definitely suggest starting with some hand tools and some smaller power tools. The drill was the first tool that I ever had, and that was kind of like my gateway tool. Yeah, that was the one that got me into wanting to do more with power tools, because once you have a drill and you can do things with that, then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I want to be able to cut the wood pieces that I'm drilling together. And then you're like, well, but maybe I don't want to screw the wood pieces together. Maybe I want to actually nail them together. So then you need a power nailer. So it kind of compiles. So I suggest starting small, and then also making sure that you take the time to learn about the tool, its best applications, the different types of blades or different like drill bits, let's say, for example, that you need. And really, like I said, YouTube is such a phenomenal resource to learn how to use a lot of things, and that's truly is how I've learned a lot. So definitely turn to YouTube and watch a couple tutorials before you use a new tool. And also I turn to like looking up tutorials anytime I'm trying something new that I haven't done before. So now we're gonna answer some YouTube specific questions. So the first one, are you glad you went into YouTube? Definitely I am glad I went into YouTube, though sometimes I do struggle with it because it's such a time-consuming hobby, side hustle, second job, really. I do try to treat this like a second job for myself, because I do earn money off of YouTube, and also I really enjoy the process of creating content. I think that being on YouTube has helped me tremendously. I would honestly say anyone should start a YouTube channel if you're remotely interested in it. I've gotten a lot better about being on camera since starting a YouTube channel and talking with the camera, which was a big part of the reason why I went into this or started to do this, is I wanted to improve my confidence like this. I also learned a lot about DIYing, which became my niche here on YouTube. It's not what my channel originally started out with, but all of those videos are private now because they were very embarrassing and very cringy, which leads me to the next question, which is how long have you been a YouTuber? I started my YouTube channel in 2017 in the summer that I graduated from college. It's pretty much always been kind of like a second gig for me, and really, really early on, I was lucky if I got out a video once a month, once every like 6 weeks, because of just trying to balance everything. And I'm still working on that balance, and really trying to set a goal of getting a video out once a week is super challenging, and it's very easy to burn out. But I am trying to do my best because I'm so passionate about doing this, and I love doing this. So I've been doing this for, so 2017, 7 years now, which is crazy to think about, but really seriously, probably for the past 3 years. This is a question I like to ask all YouTubers. What are your personal favorite YouTube channels that give you inspiration? So I really tend to gravitate towards some of the bigger DIY channels, mostly because they were my size channels, not really, maybe a little bigger, when I started YouTube, and I've watched them grow exponentially, so that's a huge inspiration for me, which is Drew over on Lone Fox, Tina Lay, I love her renter-friendly hacks that she is doing over there, Danny with DIY Danny, Exo McKenna, all of them I look up to so much. But a channel that I recently found that I've been binge watching lately and is a little bit more on, I guess, my level is A Living with LK. I love their channel so much with the approach to DIY projects and some really, really useful home decor and renter-friendly tips as well. This question is from my friend Kelly, and hi Kelly, thanks so much for asking me a question. So what is a project that you are most excited to take on next? And I think that's gonna be the kitchen makeover. I'm very nervous about this one, but very excited to see if I can do something to make it look a little bit prettier than it currently looks. I'm also looking forward to Halloween DIYs because I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday, and I know those videos don't typically do very well on my channel because Halloween is a little bit specific. It's not everybody's favorite, but I have a lot of fun creating the Halloween videos. If you haven't checked those out yet, we put on a little bit of a short film or skit throughout the video, so they're really fun to make. So that one I am really looking forward to and started planning pretty much as soon as the last Halloween one was done. And also Kelly asked, what DIYs are your favorite, which is such a hard one because I feel like I always fall in love with all of my projects. Probably the IKEA Ivar hat because I don't know, I love this project. I think it's gonna be one that I'm gonna keep pretty much forever and ever because of how it turned out. My dad helps me build it, so there's a lot of meaning in it, and it's just functional and pretty, and the transformation is crazy of where this started to how it looks. Some other ones that I'm proud of, also a lot of my art that I have made on my channel, and the mirror that I made out of the popsicle sticks is still one of my favorites. I don't have anywhere in this apartment to hang it up, but I am not gonna get rid of that one, as well as the tray that I made out of tile. I love that tray, and that was one of my first projects and still gonna be one that I'll probably also hold on to forever. What direction do you see the channel growing in the future? DIY, interior design, or rental tips? I definitely am trying to go more the direction of rental tips, but without trying to pigeonhole myself into that, if that makes sense. Because ultimately, I think with any renter, the end goal is not to be a renter forever. It's to eventually have a house, which would be an ideal, but I do really like trying to share creative ways to upgrade your home in a more temporary way and trying to make it so that even if you're a renter, you don't have to just live in a boring looking box without any personality, and that there are really easy and removable ways to just add character to a space. So I've been really having fun doing that type of video, and I think that this seems to be one that's really resonating with you guys and that you guys have been really loving as well. So definitely expect to see a lot more of those types of videos, makeovers, tips, hacks, little tiny DIY projects in the future. And now the big question that everyone is asking. I received so many questions asking this, which is, what is my full-time job? First, I'll start by saying, yes, I do have a full-time job, which is a very demanding job. However, I'm not allowed to tell you guys what it is. Unfortunately, because of what I do for a living, I have to create a pretty big separation between what I do for YouTube and what I do for work. So I prefer not to talk about it here on my channel and would rather just keep those very separate for right now. But somebody did ask that if my real job is similar to what I do here on YouTube, and kind of, but not really. YouTube is definitely my creative outlet and a way to do something that I'm really passionate about in my free time and my hobbies. I basically did that thing of where I monetized my hobbies, which I love because it allows me to keep doing them and growing, because I'm able to kind of have that little extra money to do a bajillion projects all at the same time. So I'm very grateful for that. But this definitely allows me to kind of break away a little bit from what I do for a living while incorporating some of the skills that I learned over here in my job. So it's kind of like a best of both worlds scenario. Now, I was also asked what my dream job is. Definitely would be to do YouTube or something related to interior design or DIY and creativity, because this is really where I feel my happiest, is when I am doing DIY projects. I feel like this is where I truly can be myself, and so that would just be my ultimate goal in the end. Anything where I could just kind of have a little bit of some freedom, a lot of creativity, would be my dream job, and we're gonna be kind of figuring that out in the next few months. There's gonna be some big changes in my life personally. I have my fingers crossed for. It's what I'm praying for and hoping for, and yeah, so that's why I'm kind of working really hard on YouTube right now. It's why I am really doing a lot of soul searching and a lot of thinking and hoping that maybe we could have some fun changes in the future, and this is something that I could take even more seriously, which would be really cool and really rewarding. I feel like I got a little emotional there at the end. It's just been such a fun journey being on YouTube, and I'm so appreciative if you watched all the way to the end here because I feel like this is a long video with a lot going on. I hope that you guys learned a little bit more about me, and yeah, this was fun. And so any other questions you might have, I can answer them in the comments or something like that. If you haven't checked out any of my other videos, I'll just put something up on the screen here for you guys to watch next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.